right, part two. I don't know why my camera just decided it was going to shut off by itself in the middle of my Bible study, but it did shut off. And seeing that when I use my camera, I cannot edit my videos, I can't combine the videos anymore. So this is going to have to be a part two. You could thank YouTube for that one. So anyways, where was it? Okay, so verse 8. The footnote is going to be, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness? So that was going to be reference to Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 12. And kindness has a number 2 behind it that also could mean steadfast love. Okay. So what we can do, we can also define steadfast. Let's see what that means. So let's look up steadfast. And steadfast means I'm going to go out with let's do blue. Okay. So I'm going to circle steadfast. I'm going to drag the definition out this way. So steadfast means resolutely, or is it resolutely? Probably resolutely. I'm saying these words wrong. Or dutifully, that doesn't sound right. Dutifully, firm and unwavering. So basically what the definition means for steadfast is loyal. So we're going to add loyal, faithful, dedicated, and devoted for easier look upon it. And I'm going to take my blue pen and I'm going to circle it. Okay? And I'm going to date that for today. And then I am going to write the definition into my notes. Chapter 6, verse 8. I'm going to write the definition in my notes. Dutifully or dutifully. I feel like I'm saying that word wrong. Means loyal, faithful, dedicated, and devoted. Which pretty much describes what our relationship to God is supposed to be. We're supposed to be loyal, faithful, and dedicated to studying in His Word, and devoted to studying in His Word and doing good in our everyday lives, and spreading the gospel to others. So we define that word, and we went ahead and footnote the for the verse, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness, as Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 12. And the next footnote is going to be walk humbly with your God, and that's going to be reference to Genesis chapter 5 verse 22. Okay, so let's go to the Bible notes for verse 8, and it reads, the Lord desires the primary forms of love: justice, to do justice, mercy, love, kindness, and faithfulness. Walk humbly as the express reason of his people to his redemptive acts. And they have some more scriptures here. Matthew 23 verse 23, Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 12 through 13, 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 22, Isaiah chapter 1 verses 11 through 17. And I'm not sure how to pronounce this next one, but it is Hosea. It's Hosea, chapter 6 verse 6. Yeah, Hoshi. I'm not sure. On the meaning of justice, see notes on Isaiah chapter 42 verse 1, Jeremiah chapter 22 verse 3, Amos chapter 5 verse 7, you're a God, the complement to my people, Micah chapter 6 verse 3 and 5. So let me, I really want to make sure I'm pronouncing that book correctly. So let's go here, put in the name, and see if we can get a sound for it. Let's see. To pronounce. Hosea. Come. Alright, let's see. Is it going to help us out? Or what have I put it in the right section? Alright, let's listen and see how they pronounce the word. See if I was anywhere near close.
Hosea or Hosea.
Okay, so I was close. Okay.
Hosea.
Hosea. Okay. Alright, so. Alright, so it was right there. Hosea. Okay. Alright, so we took that apart. We found the references, and we defined steadfast, and we read the notes. Okay. Let's see. What I did not, let's look up transgression. That would be a good word to make sure you understand what that word means. Transgression. So we're going to circle transgression. We're going to take that, get off of there. We're going to take that And we're going to write the definition out here for it. Okay. Stick that right there. Okay. I'm going to turn my Bible sideways. And then I'm going to write the definition, which is an act that goes against a law, rule, or code of conduct, an offense. So I'm going to write that out. An act that goes against a law, rule, or code of conduct, an offense. Okay? And then I'm going to circle it in pink. Oops. Like that. Just gonna highlight this one. Just a line here. Okay, so we have a definition for transgression as well. Is there any other words here that we need to... What about... So let's define humbly. Let's go ahead and circle that with, first let's highlight transgression in orange. And then we're just going to go ahead and highlight this in orange as well. And then we're going to highlight humble. Okay. And then we're going to bring that definition out. I'm going to circle it in orange. And then we're going to bring that definition out here. Which means in a way that shows or suggests a modest or low estimate of one's importance, meekly. So let's do shows modest or low estimate of one's importance. And then write meekly there. Okay? And then we're just going to circle it in orange. Okay. And going to go to our notes. I'm running out of note room. And then we're going to do Micah 6 verse 8 humbly, and write that definition out. Shows modest or low estimate of one's importance, meekly. Okay. All right, so we got all of that out of here. And we can go back and reference all of those references concerning these two verses here. So let's make sure we're not missing any other words. So what can we take out of verses 7 and 8? With the word transgression, and humbly sticking out, steadfast. It to me basically it's coming out basically saying that we should, we were creating in the likeness and image of God, so we should take that and do what we are meant to do, to be loyal and faithful and dedicated in His word, and to spread the gospel, be good to others, be kind to others, and try to, when we do have transgressions and we stumble, not to lose our focus on God and where we're going, because Satan will attack those he sees as a threat. And we are valuable to God, so therefore Satan is going to attack us even harder. And when we're getting close to where we need to be at, Satan's going to attack us even more. So when we get the storms and we see the storms and it just seems like, man, this is just getting rough and overwhelming, we just need to steadfast and stay humble and realize that, okay, if the storm is this bad, there's got to be something good on the other side. That's why I'm going through this rough patch now. So we have to stand strong and know that when the storm hits us, okay, this got to be something really good is got to be coming out of this storm. So I have to face the storm the right way, and keep God as the center of my focus through the storms, and make sure He is the foundation to get us through the storm, because God doesn't look at our storms. He looks at how we handle our storms when we are faced with them. Okay? Alright, so let's go back to Hebrews. Alright, so we have finished with that scripture. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through my notes. And the reference that we got from Romans chapter 12, verse 13 is going to be, we did the contribute to the needs of the saints. We went to Romans 15, verse 25, and we pulled out some more scriptures with that. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 1 and 15, 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 1 and 12, Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10, and chapter 13, verse 16, which was our daily scripture. First Timothy chapter 6, verse 18. And when we went to, seek to show hospitality, we referenced that to Matthew 25, verse 35. Okay. See what to Micah. Alright, so sacrifices that are pleasing to God was also in reference to Philippians chapter 4:18. So let's do that. And that's going to be right here, Philippians chapter 4, verse 18. Okay, so that reads, I have received full payment and more. I am well supplied, having received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent, a fragment offering a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to God. Now this is what we did last time. So that's just a refresher for that one. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 12. That's going to be, let's see. Second Corinthians. Let's go there right quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 12. Okay. All right. So, 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 12. For the ministry of this service is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but is also overflowing in many thanksgivings to God. So the first footnote is going to be the needs of the saints, but it's also overflowing in many thanksgivings to God. That is going to be 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 14. I circled thanksgivings to God, and I made a note for thanksgivings, which means we must always give thanks to God. No matter what, do the good, do the bad, we should always give thanks to God. Praise Him for the good things, praise Him for the bad things, praise Him for the things that we don't know about yet. Because we don't do anything without Him being the center of our lives. We breathe because He allows us to breathe. We get up in the morning because He allows us to get up in the morning. So we should thank Him for everything. And let's see. Okay, that's a different chapter right there. But yeah, so I circled that and put that note out for that as well. See, is there anything else? Okay, Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10. Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10. Okay, Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10. For God is not unjust, so as to overlook your work and the love that you have shown for His name in serving the saints as you still do. So I took God is not unjust, and I wrote it here in big letters because it just stood out to me. We have to remember that God is not unjust. He's not here to harm us. And I put a note here for the definition for unjust is not based on or having or behaving according to what is morally right and fair. And that footnote for God is not unjust is Proverbs chapter 19, verse 17, Matthew chapter 10, verses 42, in chapter 25, verse 40, and Mark chapter 9, verse 41. The next footnote is going to be your work and the love that you have shown for His name. It's going to be first, I cannot say this word, Thessalonians. I hope I'm saying that right. First Thessalonians. My gosh, that is so hard to say. First Thessalonians, chapter 1, verse 3. Your work and the love that you have shown for His name. That is very important. And I put a note on the side saying that God sees your heart. He knows it along with your intentions. He knows your sacrifices. He knows if you're giving to give for your heart, or you're just giving just to, prove a point. Oh, yes, I did that. But in your mind, you're like, oh gosh, I really wish I didn't have to do that. He knows all of that. He knows the intentions when you give tithes. He knows your intentions when you help somebody. He knows your heart. He doesn't care about your outer appearance. He cares for what's in the inside. So we have to be in tune with that as well. You can't hide anything from God. You can't hide anything. He knows everything. So moving on. As you can see, I highlighted love, circled love, and I also highlighted and circled his name. So the next footnote is going to be serving the saints as you still do. And that is going to be in reference to Romans chapter 15, verse 31, 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 4, chapter 9, verse 1 and 12, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 18, and Revelations chapter 2, verse 19. Okay? Alright, so that was all the notes that I took for that particular verse. Like I said, it has tons of reference of other reference scriptures and verses just for that one verse that you can really go through and pull out even more and more information, tons of information and words and things of that sort. But if I went through every reference scripture, this video would be 2 days long. So I'm just going to give you guys the references, and if you want to do it in your spare time to go through those and pull out even more information, you can do that. If you would like me to do that, please let me know, and we will have a very long Bible study with just looking up the references and seeing what that's about. But that could be your homework for this daily Bible scripture for Hebrews chapter 13, verse 16. So the next one real quick is going to be First Timothy chapter 6, 18. Let's go there right quick. That's going to be 2, 3, 3, 4. Let's go there real quick. First Timothy chapter 6, verse 18. Okay, so that's going to read, they are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. I circled to do good. I underlined rich in good works. I circled and highlighted generous, and I also circled ready to share. The first footnote is going to be rich in good works, and that is going to be in reference to be rich in good works, to be generous. It's going to be in reference to Luke chapter 12, verse 21, Titus chapter 3, verse 8. And then the next one is going to be ready to share. And that's going to be in reference to Romans chapter 12, verse 13. And I've made a note out here to share, saying that we should be willing to share, to be generous, and to do good among people by giving with good hearts. If you're not going to help or give with a good heart, then you really just don't bother doing it. Your heart has to be in the right place to give, and to give selfishly, unselfishly. Excuse me. We should give unselfishly, with good hearts and good intentions and a good mind